Hello, myself Sunil R. This is basically 134th number part of the formula. And here basically we are discussing the formula attributes, and inside that we have asked a few questions. And in question basically the question was what is actually Bollywood, Hollywood, and how the basically Bollywood is connected with software industry. And there basically we have asked a few questions basically. In that question basically this is one of the questions basically, that is basically how Aadhaar card, PAN cards, and passports basically are connected, and how basically they are connected with earthquakes basically. So, and basically how Aadhaar card, PAN card, and passports basically was created on the base of certain stories basically. So we have saw basically one story of Aadhaar card and PAN card basically. That basically was old story basically of the old P group basically. It's like that basically Aadhaar card and PAN card. Now basically here basically we are going to see one of the old stories and new stories also in the passport basically. So like this, the story basically has connected to like this. That is basically mm, the person basically the one of the rich person basically he want to know the income of the each and every friend, so he introduced PAN card. Then basically they want to he the person was rich person, he want to know the health information of each and every his friends, because that due to that health problem basically of that friends, his health was basically getting affected. So for that basically, because you can't remove the blood cells basically once it is already created. So like this, the due to that blood cells basically the due to that infected means disease blood cells basically, his blood cells are also was getting affected basically, because it's a universal law basically. So like that basically the his friends, due to his friends blood cells, his blood cells was also getting, that is basically friendship blood cells basically you can say, relationship blood cells basically you can say, the types of blood cells basically. This is basically one English word basically I'm using. In real medical sentence basically the name might be totally different basically. So here basically we were talking about the friend's blood cells, and then which was affecting his blood, and here basically due to this he introduced the Aadhaar card also. So like this basically he was a old friend. Now basically we will be seeing like this he introduced, he told that I want to capture lots of things basically across the world also basically, because the reason basically my friends are becoming in across the world also, and his business was also getting increased. So he started. He told that like this basically he here basically we are telling that here the tour here we assume that the just we assume that basically the things that is basically passport related services was activated, but the passport blood cells was not created. So now basically after this incidents basically of the PAN card basically his bodies was getting affected, his health was getting affected. So they basically told that why don't we start the passport blood cells also basically. So like that basically they introduced the passport blood cell, and here basically I will take one story that is basically uh, of three childhood friends basically. Two was girls and one was basically boy. So two from basically one boy basically was just in study has they all three basically were studying together basically in one of the school basically. So then basically the girls basically father basically shifted to one of the friends girls father shifted to Europe, and one of the friends girls one of the girls basically father shifted to the US basically, because they were basically into business industry. So they shifted basically, they got the opportunity and they shifted. So like that basically the friendship was chained to India and US and UK. Like this basically the uh, chained information basically got connected. So like this basically whatever things was getting affected to that boy, and that was getting affected to that girls also, and the girls basically whatever things are getting affected, that was getting affected to the boys also. So like that basically it's a universal law basically you can say, it's a universal law only basically you can say, whatever things basically friends relatives whatever things gets effect, that by default they are going, each and every family members are going to get effect one day. That is basically 100% sure. For example, I am getting effect. Either you break the relationship with a friend, break as a relationship as a friendship, then also basically one day you are going to get effect, because it's a universal law basically. Once the things are connected, that basically are connected. So like this basically, um, like this the passport basically chained basically came into picture. That is basically passport information. I have saw, I told basically, like this the passport blood cells came into picture. So whenever the passports related things services gets activated of that particular, for example, he entered passport number in the text box. I had taken one example of text box. So whenever he enters the text box, basically whatever his information, his health information, his money information, whatever things basically gets connect, that basically information gets, that energy basically gets connect to his that girls also basically, that were US girls and Europe girls. So whenever the girls were basically entering the passport number in the text box, that time basically the girls was one girl and in Europe, and the one girl, the girls basically girl which was entering the passport number, that was US girl. So the Europe girl and the India boy basically both were getting effect. Both were getting effect due to that. Whatever the girls basically health information, due to health, due to some reason the health was not getting effect, not having good health, and some monetary help basically was required. Basically it's a business basically, so basically it might possible. So like this UK girl was when entering the passport number, then basically she was having good health and good monetary, so that was also getting affected both sides. So like this basically just change the passport information chain basically. So this was basically also one of the relationship basically, that was basically passport started basically, mostly passport might have started like this only basically, the story of PAN card and Aadhaar card basically. So like this basically passport blood cells also basically started. So like this basically in this world basically whatever basically objects exist, whatever object that basically has converted into blood cells basically, because the universal law basically, it's the universal law. Due to universal law only basically in our planet each and every person has to stay basically. So because the upper law is always universal law only, so things basically gets override only basically, you can say. So like this universal law is basically once the friendship blood cells basically has created, so like that basically the whatever things are going to affect, it's going to affect to all only basically. So like this this was basically about the passport, Aadhaar card, and PAN card basically. So this is basically about the friendship basically. So this three basically was connected with the friendship. So now basically we will see once little bit some song basically related to friendship, and how basically Bollywood groups are going to connect to um, the software industry, that also we going to see basically. रहना जाने हमसे सुना है कि तू ये क्या हो गया सुना है कि तू बेवफा मैं रह गई हम नहीं So like this, basically, this was basically one of the few Bollywood song, basically, which basically are connected with the friendship, basically relationship, basically. So like this, here basically, what was the things basically? Here the thing was basically the Bollywood industry says that we have created the software industry on the base of our ideas. So they have got the ideas basically on the certain stories basically which was told by their group, basically their discussion, basically in where which environment they had taken the discussion, that basically the each and every things basically they have captured. So like this, each and every writer basically might have written the friendship relationship. So like this, each and every relationship they have connected according to that, each and everything basically the software industry basically came into picture, basically that's software based software companies basically came into picture. For example, it's a friendship basically, right? So there are many software companies basically who says that we are basically directly connected with the friendship relationship. So on the base of friendship only we have opened the each and every software companies basically. So like this, each and every relationship basically are on the base of relationship also basically lots of software companies are created, because relationship blood cells exist in this world basically, because your body contains the relationship blood cells. One of the blood cells basically, that is relationship blood cells basically, you can say. So that relationship blood cells which is already, we are here basically we are only talking about the software industry blood cells. And software industry base is basically Bollywood industry. Bollywood group says that we have created this each and every base software, each and every softwares basically on the base of our set of stories basically, yes. So that story basically have many types of stories. So one of the stories is basically, that is basically friendship stories. So in friendship story basically, here basically we have so pan card, basically how pan card got birth, how Aadhaar card got birth, how basically passport basically got birth. Here in passport basically we have saw basically one boy and two girls basically. One girl basically went to US and one girl went to UK basically, and one boy was basically in India only. So each and every triangle basically was getting effect, basically each and every their stories basically were getting effect. Because for example that boy is in India and that girls are basically in US and UK. So there basically power energy basically has been connected, right? And collected also basically. So like that basically, whenever the that power energy basically is going to send to the India basically, that power basically is going to 100% going to connect to that boy only, because the relationship blood cells है. It's a relationship blood cell, so that is going to by default going to affect his blood. And if it's a blood, if it's a good things has happened, then good thing will affect. If it's a bad thing has happened, then bad thing is going to affect. But it is going to affect 100%, because the relationship maintenance basically you can say it's connected. It's a relationship blood cells basically you can say. So like that basically, the here basically it was about the Bollywood industry. Bollywood industry told that we have created the software industry, and here basically we have asked lots of questions. The eighth, this is basically eighth question ongoing, how basically Bollywood industry says that we are basically um, we have created the software industry of from the set of user stories. And here basically we saw basically pan card, Aadhaar card, and passport basically. How basically this energy basically has been generated in the environment. So here basically we saw the 120, sorry, 134th number part, and 130 fifth part we are going to see a little bit more about this.